front of us. Sintolol playing Moyen's lineup. Taunt Druid, Odd Rogue, Shadowhawk Shaman, and even Warlock. The very same lineup that you just saw in the previous series, with Odd Rogue being banned this time. Bloodyface thinking for himself with the Zoo Warlock, the Odd Rogue, the Secret Hunter, and his Malagos Druid.
Hasn't really blown us, blown us out of the water in terms of previous performance. But let's not mess about any longer. Let's get into game number one. Sintolol on the Druid, Bloodyface on his Rogue. And what did you think about Sintolol's play in the first match he played? He was visibly rusty, is the friendly Raven phrase I'll use.
That's one way of putting it, yeah. Suspect. His play was
the Soul version.
Yeah, it was lacking in a couple of spots, I think. But this actually ties back around to the point that I wanted to make before we're being shown deck list. So good job, have a gold star. Sinto, when we interviewed him, I was really interested because we asked him specifically, you have the record of like a top 10 Hearthstone player, right? Like you have the chance to be coming back to Worlds for a second year. You've won Last Call in the past. Like these are the marks of some of the world's best. Do you consider yourself a top 10 player? He said no, but I do think I'm a top 10 grinder. Like, well, what does that even mean? And he went on to explain that he thinks there's an actual skill set required to actually like grinding out all the open cups in the past and the ladder finishes as it is now. It's hard to argue with, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely think at minimum, and this is not really downgrading at all, there's at least a mental fortitude difference, right? Because like whether that's classed as a skill or not, I'm not 100% sure, but there is definitely something to it. But what I will say about this matchup is because of these bans, one way or the other, these games are going to be decided fairly quickly, and there will normally be a tipping point of Sintolol stabilizing or not.
Yes.
I think because even the decks Bloodyface has brought, the aggressive aggro decks, it's not brought Token Druid where, yes, it's an aggressive deck, but it can play till fatigue if it needs to.
Yeah, and 26 mana in your opening hand, not even counting the Witching Hour, is not really where you want to be as the Taunt Druid. Of course, Master Okar is an incredibly explosive card, but unless Sintolol can get there much, much quicker than it looks like he can at the moment, might end up just being a touch too slow. Although, saying that, Bloodyface doesn't have the explosivity that we saw from King Mukla in the previous series. He is just a little bit slower to ramp up the damage than Moyen was.
I think you might even just mainly start considering here, it's just a 3-3 okay?
I'm thinking 3-3.
There isn't Spellstone to kill it off. Not so much that, yes, there isn't one in hand, but it wouldn't be armored up enough anyway without hero power itself to kill it off. So they choose to just get that dagger equipped. It is 4 damage over the course of 2 turns, but I think the flurry of 1-drops make the SI7 agents as 3-3 specifically a little bit more valuable. They can be activated next turn. It can be activated the turn after.
I wonder if this play was made with Ironwood Golem actually being expected from Bloodyface, because it then does allow him to use like an activated SA7 Battle Cry to contest the 3-6, whereas if he just plays a 3-3 on the board, he ends up using that 3-3 body to kill the 3-6. It's actually kind of a sacrifice, right? Like if you
lose slightly, right?
Yeah, if you map those 2 turns out, this way he ends up with a 3-3 on the board, which is somewhat different.
Well, speaking of Spellstone, there's one, but for those of you who may not be overly familiar with Taunt Druid because it was the most popular deck for a while and then sort of slipped away and has made.
For those of you who have never felt the rush of naturalizing your own Hadronox,
or felt the dismay of your opponent naturalizing your own Hadronox, there is no Malfurion, right? There's no, because I feel against Odd Rogue with other Druid decks, Malfurion is it's the card that says I'm not dead, I play Malfurion, now I win, and that doesn't exist in this deck. So it definitely means Sinto has to stretch a little bit further and gives Bloodyface a bigger window of a kill window, should I say.
These are very low impact draws from
Myra's, let's go!
from Bloodyface so far. I mean, I don't think it will be too long before we see that Myra's being played out here, depending on what Bloody draws from the top. If Bloody picks up options from the top, then he's in business. But his big luxury here is, if he was playing against Malagos Druid, this hand would not only be not good, it would be actively terrible, because he would just be getting spreading plagued right now. And these 1-1s and 1-2s would probably, actually taking that a step further, these 1-1s and 1-2s would probably be in his hand not being played because of the threat of spreading plague. At least against Taunt Druid, you can get them out there to do little pieces of chip damage.
No. This, my friends, is a bad turn.
As was the last one.
Because the funny thing is, you probably do want to play Primordial Drake next turn versus playing Go-Kart, I think. because you kill off and remove the shields, kill off 2 of the minions. Let's see what happens. But how do you think Bloodyface will approach the setup for next turn? So we're going to see Nourish, right? It would be weird not to see Nourish this turn. Sintolol just pass, you know. So what do you think Bloodyface wants to do now? What is he trying to beat with what he's going to play this turn?
I mean, that question in itself is kind of difficult because he doesn't have a huge amount of options to be flexible, right? So with this
What's
one...
What's he trying to beat with these 2/1/1s?
Exactly. Yeah, if he had Fungal Mancers, if he had the decision of, like, do I play a Vilespine Slayer for tempo this turn or not? You know, if these were things available to him, then, you know, we might see one or the other, but literally his entire turn is play a 1-drop and Myra's here. Like, it just has to be that.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, yes, limited options, completely agree, but what this does is open up options to say, okay, Taunt comes down next turn, it's likely, my opponent's held cards for a while. Okay, if I Myra's, I probably get Activator and Valspine.
Yes.
And then go. Even if we see Primordial Drake could come down, you can actually just open up enough room to maybe just win the game off the back of, say, a Cold Blood as well.
Sinto, of course, playing double Dragon Hatcher, as you just saw in evidence. Some people do only play 1, which would have been a huge punish there. But now, let's see, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 damage on the board. The 4/12 can be Vilespined. Still only 7 mana available. It's the joy of the Druid. There's not 10 available for Bloodyface to commit fully to damage here.
I think the lack of Cold Blood being drawn is huge right now. That you almost just use a 1-drop with Cold Blood to kill this 3/6, and it just doesn't exist. Oof. But yeah, I'm 100% on the double Dragon Hatcher train. I just wouldn't play Taunt without 2 Dragon Hatchers.
But now you see Sinto starting to climb back into this because, yes, the Vilespine takes care of the 4/12, but I don't think there's enough damage left to be allocated here. No, there isn't, to kill the 2/4, meaning the 2/4 lives, and there is a second Sleepy Dragon as well in Sintolol's deck. Full breed.
Yeah.
Double Hatcher, double Sleepy, and the Primordial Drake in hand for Sinto as well.
One thing to consider is there is a second Vilespine. There is easy activators in the form of Firefly, because that you don't need weapon equipped, like Deadly Poison, you don't waste on anything on Cold Blood, and there is
there's no board anymore, Raven.
Oh, that is a slight problem. Right, is he left with 1 minion? No, because of Hero Power. Yeah, so there are things that are doable. There is weapon to Vilespine with Deadly Poison. So there are things that can get some work done, but it might, especially now with that branching paths, be too little too late, because that's not only the taunts, it's the armor that just becomes insurmountable now.
None of those options you presented me really filled me with confidence against a fleet of 4/8 and 4/12
I am not saying
dragons.
Bloodyface was about to win this game.
I'm saying he's about to lose.
I'm saying from Bloodyface's point of view, there were plans, right?
Disagree.
Well, what if he has all the dragons in hand?
Oh, sure, okay.
That's what I'm saying, like, you can get through 1 extra dragon and maybe win.
Sight unseen before you see the extra dragon come out, yes, maybe you can win the game.
Because the second Vilespine, there's just enough to maybe get there, but obviously extra dragons means there's frankly just too many targets, more than anything else. Take everything else off the table.
And Sinto also knows that this Dragon Hatcher is almost certainly safe yet again because he saw both SI7s played already. So I struggle to think of any combination of cards that kills that 2/1 behind 2 4/8s this turn. So he knows that unless this is Sleepy Dragon number 2, he's drawing yet another one. And now there's the Branching Path security, there's Hadronox and a couple in the coming turns that can just resummon this whole Taunt Wall, and there's Bloodyface just slowly dying to fatigue in the meantime.
Yep. Interesting turn still, though. Purely because Branching Paths limits other plays, right? You can't... There's so many 9-drops, you can't just play Hadronox and be like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine, you know. It's going to go for the cube and the armor. This is the using the most cards you can and actually getting the most work done as well. And yes.
And surprise! There's another 4/12.
If 2 weren't enough from what we were talking about last turn, there's 2 taunts in the cube And there's an extra 4-12 just for some fun. So Sinto taking the win.
I could have predicted there's a level beyond that, right? It's just like he knows that we know that he's going to bring it first.
And it just didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because it was a very easy read as Sinto used to be the player who, the Pirate Warrior player, you know, the full face, full aggro, and it's not as if that was uncommon. That was literally what he was known for.
Right.
Playing aggro in online cups. But let's get back to this series. Bloodyface is on this Hunter. Let's see how proven and tested this is versus Sintolol's even lock.
We have turned our curse.
Got some different ideas about this one. I like to play extremely aggressive with this Hunter list.
Yes.
And I think people like to try and play it a little bit slower and try and just build up the board a little bit more and play around more things than I would if I was playing Hunter there.
Don't tell me what to do.
So I'm interested to see, as the only player who brought it, how Bloodyface pilots this one.
Well, deck pretty much playing itself from this point. Diamond into Razormaw, the Dream Opener. Poisonous pickup, really nice as well, just to be able to take care of the 2-4 and just retain the Diamond on board, just so there can be no big turn 4 threat unless it's cleared up first. And you see Sintolol reacting to that exact situation and dropping down the Defile. And now that clears the way for this turn 4 Twilight Drake, but Bloody actually has the Freezing Trap option as well that can take care of that. But I do like him going for Wandering Monster first. He can now wait and react to the situation on turn 4, just playing the more universally powerful secret first.
That was just funny.
What was that?
Because I was just about to comment on the speed in which both players are playing, as you also did play-by-play Hearthstone a lot of the time. You're just like, right, so he's going to do this, and then he's going to do that, he's going to play this. It's like, but both players are going extremely fast, actually.
My lung capacity is peak.
I don't know whether that's true or not. How would I? Let's be honest. Like, I have no comment for this. But you were saying the game's playing itself, which, you know, it's kind of true. But even so, both players are just go. And this match is super important. The winner takes a couple of days off and has to, you know, get back on the horse, so to speak, at the weekend, and can just relax and fully prepare, which has got to be worth quite a lot for these players.
And now this is a huge decision point, for Sintolol, because I like just seeing him use the Spellstone here, because if he was to Hellfire to clear up this board, he's only really taking care of an additional 1-3, and he's seen 2 secrets be played from his opponent at this point. So he knows a very likely outcome is that Emerald Spellstone. But now, can Bloodyface divert himself off that? Because based on the removal that he's seen so far, Houndmaster arguably creates a much more resilient board, but there is that all-important tech card that Sinto drew a few turns ago, the Black Knight singing in hand, which could be a huge swing going into a Houndmaster turn.
I don't know if that swing's big enough to not do it, though. Because my view is Houndmaster still would often get dealt with, to a certain extent, with a Hellfire, maybe, like Hellfire plus Homunculus, or something like, you know, something along those lines. But playing a Houndmaster just on its own is horrible, and it gets so much harder to play. I love Houndmaster this turn.
I like it
because
because
I think Black Knight's great. I have a 4-3.
Right. So you can make the argument here by like going Houndmaster first. They have to have Black Knight. It's like the one good clear available, and then after that they also have to have Hellfire for the Spellstone. Yeah. By doing it the other way around, they just have to have the Hellfire, right? Because Houndmaster isn't a threat on its own.
Bloodyface sees the lines as far as I'm concerned, and again, it's just enough pressure to make Sintolol have to deal with it. He cannot develop anything else, although Black Knight is obviously a great tool at ticking both boxes, removing one minion, developing your own.
Yeah. But the Nightmare scenario is the reality for Bloodyface right now. The Black Knight is there, and the follow-up Hellfire is there. The silver lining is that the Hellfire does push Sintolol into pretty dangerous territory health-wise, but with a second Spellstone in hand that's about to get upgraded as well, he does have some ability to bounce back on top of this health total.
He does. I will say there is quite a while before Sinto can actually do anything aggressive himself because of these traps. Trap that's alive, because the Twilight Drake did get bounced by the Freezing Trap. And that is the Wandering Monster, right?
Yes. Snipe, about as big a whiff as you get here. Slowing down Sintolol's board development is just not relevant. It's why Explosive Runes is just so much of an improvement over Snipe as a card. It's just in spots like this where you you've lost the board, basically. Like, what is Snipe going to do? You're at least using that card to deal some damage to the opponent.
We actually got a few words from Bloodyface just about how he goes in prepping his matchups and prepping his lineups for the start.
It's because you bring 4 different decks to a tournament. There's just so many different matchups that you can play. Most card games are just playing one deck versus one deck, and you only need to know that one deck's matchups, whereas in Hearthstone you have to know so much. So I think Hearthstone tournaments go a lot deeper.
Bloodyface, you're great, and I agree. But 1 second, this was a crazy time.
I honestly don't know what he said because I got distracted by the Deathstalker Rexar draw. I'm sorry, Bloodyface, but this is much more important.
Well, you're sorry because you got distracted by Bloodyface, so I guess it's not too bad.
Great point.
Carry on.
Deathstalker Rexar was the one card that he needed to change this game because the damage plan had got shut down. He's miles behind in any kind of value race. So yeah, Deathstalker Rexar is the only card available that really catches him up.
Bowman's pretty good for Sintolol. He does have other options, of course. Lich King, just vanilla 8-drop. That's fantastic almost every single time you play it. But these options now, Hunter often, even post-Rexar, don't have great ways to interact with multiple big minions. Yes, Bloatbat Poison. Okay, great. But outside of that exact combo or a couple of small combos, you can't really deal with multiple big dudes on the board. And Sintolol, although has to now deal with Rexar, might already just be an extra one step ahead at this point.
Yeah, it's fair. I still think Sintolol is in a very promising position, but that Rexar was just the breath of hope that Bloody needed. Probably a McCall.
Yeah,
Is the 1 health?
I have a mental block now because TJ was talking about Gurubashi, Berserker, and Loose Specimen as a combo.
Yeah.
So I'm staring at Loose Specimen going,
right,
don't say it. And then I did.
Yeah, I mean, the argument for Specimen is that you can like take it alongside a 2-drop and just play it right now.
Right.
But if you don't hit a 2-drop, it becomes a very messy card in the future. So I don't know if that's worth the risk in that spot. Yeah, he did end up going with McCall.
And a Rexar turn like that is a little bit easier because there's a backup minion, right? Once you've made one and it's decent, you can always say, well, it's this much mana. Worst case, I pick something for the next turn and play my backup one now.
Yes.
And that's what we saw from Bloodyface, and getting the fledgling down or the fledgling hybrid. Definitely not too bad. Does have kill command or a bow to be able to help deal with this Lich King. Nothing else goes on here.
I do like getting an additional taunt available here. I was just getting somewhat worried from Sintolol's perspective. Oh, 5-1 hurts there. If there was a rushing poisonous minion or a rushing Hydra type minion, or any of, a high attack rush minion, essentially, that one Lich King taunt might not be enough to prevent what could be a Wind Furied 7 attack minion connecting with his face. So I definitely like getting the second taunt minion in play here with the Bone Man.
Also splitting the taunt minions so a tri-attack does not wipe them, which is tiny, but considering Sinto said he was rusty and had a few trip-ups, should I say, in the last series, that is actually on point, because when you start having to consider Rexar builds, that's what really tests your knowledge of the more intricate parts of the game.
By the way, don't try this on ladder to play around charging Hydras, because you will be playing against the one hunter that's teched crushing walls into their deck. Every single time. Guarantee it.
Ah, that would be funny. This is nice, though. One thing Bloodyface does have is a very straightforward knowledge of how Sintolol can deal damage. So going to 16 is fine. It's not great, but it's fine if you get to push 8 million damage.
He needs stealth. He got stealth! Oh, that's insane.
Okay.
Divine Shield wasn't good enough. +1/+1 wasn't good enough. There was nothing else that protected that from Sinto, not only killing it, but healing for a bunch with the Spellstone as well.
So, I don't think there's anything he can draw? See me rough. Okay, there's he can Spellstone his own minion and tap for Sun Fury Protector.
And then
but it's not enough anyway, right? It doesn't matter. That was huge. Bloodyface using his life and his removal to trade for the effect of this fledgling to go face, and winning play are what those are called. I just glanced at Bloody's Hunter list, but as you can imagine,
are there death grip outs?
No, well, because it's this style of Hunter, no.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's no Witchwood Grizzly, for example, that you could steal. There's nothing. Unless I'm really missing something. I can't see a way out here for Sinto.
He's going to have to Spellstone tap and just hope that what he finds can be good enough. There is the Sun Fury. Giant is 1 mana off being able to be played though, and yeah, this Sun Fury Protector is going to come down. And now Bloodyface just needs any way. No dragon in hand.
He needs 2 points of damage, right?
Charge.
Oh, stun to spar.
Yep.
That'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Well, he took the Elemental as well, but Fledgling doesn't have to win Fury. It does die, but that is going to be the game for Bloodyface, and he evens it up 1-1 versus Sintolol, and that was an emotional roller coaster, Sal.
It was. What's crazy is that Sinto actually hit the...
Rexar is not... Rexar's 50% Orc, 50% Ogre.
I just don't care.
Well, I know you don't care. I care, okay? And these players care as they are 1-1 in this series. This is the winner's portion of the bracket if you've just recently joined us, and it means that if you move on through this stage, you can take a couple of days off to practice, prepare, and take time for yourself. And as multiple players have told us in the past few days when talking to them, people are valuing good rest almost higher than everything else right now in tournaments. Tyler being one.
Look at the pout that came out for Sintolol there as double Flame Imp hit the board. He does have Lightning Storm available to him very rapidly as well. Like, I mean, he has a very dreamy hand, honestly, in terms of anti-aggro, but Bloodyface just has one of those Zoo hands that kind of wins
the game.
Yeah. Double Flame Imp into Soul Infusion landing on one of the duplicate minions is one of the highest win rate combinations in Hearthstone, and Sinto even can't get a 50-50 high roll on the Voidwalker.
Sinto's face.
Stop copying me! Stop copying me!
When the smoker becomes the smoke.
Does go hero power over Glacial Shard here. He has a 1 in 3 of preventing 4 damage, right? That Taunt Totem kind of functions as a Glacial Shard in effect on the board anyway, right? Like it saves him the health. So kind of like it, just more mana efficiency going forward because he has 4 into 1 available to him soon. Although he's likely to be playing Giggling Inventor and or Mind Control Tech in the future. Also, playing Glacial Shard allows his opponent to trade off their minions and therefore not walk into his Mind Control Tech as they do this turn.
Yeah, I was trying to like quickly think if there's a way that the Voidwalker could have killed the Taunt Totem there for opening up 4 damage and that the Glacial Shard would have stopped, but I don't think actually he's on turn 4.
Yeah, that's just not how Zoo works anymore,
well, like,
right?
Yeah. Like, because it was before the Fungalmancer turn, it doesn't matter, right? Giggling Inventor. Just gonna slow this down a little bit. But Dreadlord is a pretty good follow-up as far as I'm concerned. One of the frustrations when playing versus Zoo is, especially with a board like this, you think, okay, worst case I can attack with my Giggling Inventor. And then they drop Dreadlord and you're like, oh, okay, I'm behind again. Can't even get any form of trade-off. There are other options, but do you think Fungalmancer might be overkill this turn?
I definitely spent a long time in my silence there eyeing the Fungalmancer and what it meant against various options.
Well, not a lot is my problem.
Agreed. Yeah, it didn't do a great deal in terms of adding too much to the board. Like, it didn't play around this volcano, for example. It didn't add enough health to the board today.
Way worse, right? Yeah. Because look at the potential, look at the future now for Bloodyface. He has 2 other minions that duplicate Hello Fungalmancer the turn after, right? You know, you can set this up to be able to be quite threatening. Of course, I actually half forgot about Kel'Seth buff, which is even better, because these 2/3/4s after a volcano are very unlikely to get cleared up, and then Fungalmancer can start just ending this game for Bloodyface.
Yeah, the Keleseth buff kind of got caught in the shuffle because Bloodyface went Flame Imp, and then Soul Infusioned his Doubling Imp, and then the turn he drew Keleseth, it just wasn't even a good play because his other option was playing 2 4/4s. So the Keleseth buff to all his remaining draws now was just kind of an afterthought with how powerful his opening was.
Stop copying me!
I actually do like this versus the Chain Gangs now with that tap. As the Voodoo Doctor, you can pump out a lot of damage next turn.
Yeah, this doesn't really test very well in the future though. Like, I get what you're saying, like the Light Warden is a big threat, but I guess with the Fungal Mancer in hand, that's
right.
what Bloodyface's head was at. It's just that he's able to leverage these 2/2s if he needs to. But I feel like he gave a window over to Sinto just a little bit, just to freely develop because of a bit of a lack of pressure.
But the board would have looked very similar, except you have the 2 2/2s in your hand, right? Or the 1 2/2 that's in.
Well, you have two 3/4s on the board instead of 2 2s. If you want to call that similar.
But there'll be 3 2s after the trade, right? I'm just saying, like, post dealing with your opponent's board. It looks similar.
But not if you Fungal Mancer them like you did with that Doubling him. It's just a very false equivalence you're dealing with.
Sorry, too much flow state.
Too much flow state. Finally, the Mind Control tech is going to land.
Okay, got the best outcome.
Grumble some Samurai Chain Gangs. That's what this deck does, right? Actually, with the Ancestral Healing pickup off the Hagatha, it's not as suicidal as it first sounded. But it's the strength of the other options available to Sintolol that really make it a non-factor.
Sintolol's hand is actually... Oh! Okay, second time lucky. Close.
He gets it in the game where he just doesn't need it, yeah.
But Sintolol's hand is actually very strong, I feel, right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, there's basic levels of strength of, yes, healing versus an aggro deck is good. But then even just the Farsight draw, the Lightning Storm, all of these things are very, very powerful when put together. And because we moved into the late game, Sintolol has the mana.
And he has... This Grumble can just make an absolute mess of Bloodyface's options here. With the minions he can potentially get to Grumble on the following turns, if it even gets to that point. Sinto is well set up to play the long game here, even if Bloodyface is able to push through this and reload again.
Yeah, because you're expecting, what, at minimum Mind Control tech and Life Drinker to play?
Bloody's made such an aggressive board here that Sinto might just have to think twice about whether he needs this additional Grumble value, because the Lightning Storm's doing very little as far as we see it without these 3/2s also trading into minions.
But you remove one total minion with if you bounce Mind Control tech, so that's probably just stronger overall.
Yeah, the Life Drinker might be better trading and the Mind Control bouncing, perhaps.
But if you trade Life Drinker, what are you trading it into that makes a difference?
Any of the minions that you can.
But why?
Because then if you, on the 4 out of 5 chance that you don't steal the exact minion you traded into, it then dies to Lightning Storm.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay, so you're still playing Lightning Storm?
Not necessarily, but like, there's Lightning Storm is an option. You have various spells that you're picking up from Hagatha, which can be small removals as well, like Lightning Bolt, for example.
Okay.
Earthshock as well, being another source of 1 damage that could end up clearing after a trade happens.
Oh, Zap's not bad either. All these little pieces of extra damage are actually worth way more than it first seemed, because all Sinto has to do is, well, one, Sinto might just kill Bloodyface soon because he's on 10 health. 8 now. But,
which is actually a good argument to get the Life Drinker back into your hand.
Yeah,
well,
I'll be honest, I did not think his health was that low.
He's very dead.
Mushroom power!
Gonna play the heal? Wait. Now he can't. Now he can't play the heal.
No, nothing on board can die now. Welcome. Believe Bloodyface is just dead.
Wow. Didn't see that coming from the opening.
I mean, it was only the double Flame Imp start that really like got me on the hype train of like how good Zoo's start was. But like I think the first thing I said as we saw the mulligans was that Sintolol had pretty much the dream hand in terms of options.
Right.
His opening was like Storm, Saronite, Giggling, Mind Control Tech or something, where it's like the first 4 cards, you know?
Yeah, it's just like the double Flame Imp and then Saronite, doubling Imp, Infusion, Caliseth, you know. You can't really get that much better. What I think Bloodyface missed a little bit were Soul Fires in this game to just skip some annoying minions and continue the pressure on the board. So, it's the lead now, 2-1. Taking a win with his Shudderwatch Shame, and then eventually the Mind Control Tech was very swingy on the exact turn he played it. So it's deck building decisions, and it's a technical decision with the timing of his MCT that really like swung that game around. So you think we should see Mossy Horror in Zoo? A lot of people are playing Mossy Horror. No, really? I've actually not played this. So yes, you should see more Mossy Horror in Zoo. I mean, if you buff all your minions anyway, none of them are 2 attack, so your minions are safe. But let's go on to the next game. Bloodyface on his Odd Rogue again. Sinto on his Even Warlock. What do you make of this matchup specifically, Sal? I like the matchup for Odd Rogue, to be honest. It's one of the decks with the most freedom to push against Even Lock of anything in the game, right? Because you can push them down to 10, 12, whatever, they go Hooked Reaver. Well, guess what? You have like File Spine Slayers in your deck, which are just about the best answer for that kind of situation available in the game. So Rogue does have the freedom to be very, very aggressive. Also, that File Spine Slayer can be key because it can also like interact with the mid-game minions where that needs to be as well if the matchup turns into a fight for tempo. I will say as well, I feel like whoever has the coin is actually on the better end of the stick in this matchup, because you can sort of beat the Hellfire if the Rogue has it, but you can't. You get Hellfire if the Warlock has it, if that makes sense, against the 3-drop. You can beat the Hellfire if the Rogue has it. So the Rogue can beat... I'm not even being difficult. Okay, no, sorry. I genuinely don't understand. So the Rogue beats a Hellfire answer to a 3-drop by coining it out. Right, okay. But if the Warlock has coin, then they could just Hellfire on demand, if they have it, obviously, and deal with the early threats. Because the usual Odd Rogue 3-drop dilemma. I think you just weren't good at the words. No. The time you said that. Same. Look, I talk a lot. The odd slip-up is fine. I agree. In the meantime, this Vicious Fledgling has connected with the face, and Bloodyface has not found the absolute nuts options that he did with his last Vicious Fledgling. Or at least his Build-A-Beasted Vicious Fledgling with the Hunter. No Wind Fury, no Stealth, no Divine Shield even. You can soak 8 damage. Put Taunt on it. Let's go. Count me in. I will say as well though, look at the rest of Sintol's hand while Bloodyface makes his choice. It looks scary for Bloodyface. Because although, like, double Homunculus with the Gastropod and the Hooked Reaver, the healing's not there, but how does Bloodyface hit face in the next few turns? I feel like it can put a lot of speed bumps in the way. That's some healing too. Yeah, the problem is how much mana it costs to answer all of these problems right now. You know, Bloodyface is presenting multiple threats reasonably well. I'm just wondering if the double Homunculus is just pushes him over the edge. You want to double Homunculus this turn, and then... What, are we going face? Are we killing the Fledgling? Probably kill the Fledgling. Tell me your plans, Raven. I can't, because some of them involve you. So, kill the Fledgling, and then, for example, Hooked Reaver next turn to create multiple, like, chain taunts, should I say. Gone with a Spellbreaker instead. Which is super interesting to me, actually, because there's a 4/3 non-taunt minion on the board to only reduce 2 damage. I guess it doesn't particularly make a difference with Fungomancer because, well, Fungomancer gets targets anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of a threat this 4/3 is. I think it's just a convenience play, right? If you start to rule things out, like, you know, Shroom Brewer doesn't really contest the board much better, right? Like, you can heal up your giant, but you leave the 4/4 as a 4/4, so it's kind of like a losing equation for you. The Homunculus play, like, is a possibility, but you're still, like, waiting to draw Spellstones for one thing, and even after your giant
presumably trades over one of the big minions, it's still like the other big minion just like gobbles up a homunculus, and then your giant has to then kill it the turn after. Like that doesn't feel super pleasant to me. So I think Spellbreaker is just like the last play left that makes any sense in that spot. Because as you said, like from this point forward, we're in like Hooked Reaver country, right? But
that's why I didn't think it was too much of an issue to throw your giant away on that second spot attack minion.
Okay.
Because are you trying to rush him down with a giant at this point in the game?
No,
like,
no, obviously not.
Yeah, I'm not saying you are. But let's see how this progresses anyway, because now there's just awkward minions on the board.
Yeah.
And there is no Defile. There is a Hellfire. But you could just be dead next turn.
So many possibilities.
It's like Hellfire Coin Taunt. Does that just have to happen this turn? Because you get to the point where the Hooked Reaver just isn't good enough because of Vilespine next turn.
Right.
Because you can't just have, oh, this one taunt will keep me alive, because it might not, and then you're dead. And then the series is even.
God, it's a miserable Hellfire though, isn't it?
Oh, yes, 100%. You don't even clear the board!
I don't want to, Ray.
You don't even clear the board!
You can't make me, I guess.
I'm not making you, but Sintolol's being made to at this point by Bloodyface.
It's just the only play that makes sense. If you want to have any illusion of winning the game against a Vilespine Slayer, this is the play that you have to make.
Correct.
That illusion that you had of winning the game against one Vilespine Slayer has now been slammed shut by a second Vilespine Slayer.
Well. There was a couple more options there, right? Well, one more option.
To just deadly it?
Yeah, because then
your hand is double Vilespine, no activator?
Yeah, but no, because you wouldn't play them all.
Oh, you keep them all in hand.
Keep them all, and then you say, well, you've got to heal and play a taunt this turn.
You still have to do all those things, though, right? You just have 3-4 on the board.
I don't think it's going to make a too big an impact at this point. There's a Cold Blood. Bloodyface was missing in the previous match, and that's going to work too.
Yeah, the Cold Blood is lethal. He was actually slightly mana-tied on being able to get lethal with the Deadly Poison because he didn't have the dagger equipped in the first place. But any source of damage playable for 2 or less mana off the top, so almost exactly Cold Blood was going to get the job done because South Sea Deckhand, same problem as Deadly Poison. The dagger wasn't there ready to go. Forward with Sintolol sentiment there. But yeah, even lock coming up against Zoo in the final game for all the marbles, Raven. And we talked about the matchup going in, but it's all about aggression from the Zoo. They need enough stats, enough pressure early on that Evenlock can't just play their Evenlock game of tapping into enormous threats, because as soon as they do that, the Zoo just becomes incredibly hard to come back with. And then if that's the case, then Sintolol needs to pick up removals such as Hellfire, which he has found.
Yeah, 2 of as well, which is absolutely huge, because on the surface, Bloodyface's hand looks very, very good to me. But look at these, just Hellfire into Hellfire. There needs to be a lot of tapping from Bloodyface to be able to catch back up to those kind of big sweeps, because they're effectively board clears, I would say, versus Zoo. Yeah. Based on the turn 4 and 5, they're going to be played, most likely.
Yeah, against, crucially, an un-Keleseth Zoo, as I saw the yellow border come off the top. And that changes everything, because now all those 3 health minions turn into 4 health, and that is so crucial in the matchup. Of course, you can't really overstate how crucial Keleseth is to any deck that plays Keleseth. But particularly against the card Hellfire, and particularly in Zoo, the difference between 3 and 4 is everything.
Yeah, absolutely miles apart. And do you think it's now unfortunate the way Bloodyface's hand is shaping up that he started the game with both Sirenite Chain Gangs, for example? Do you know?
Oh, let me play the world's smallest violin for the guy that went Flame Imp into Keleseth because he has both Chain Gangs in his hand.
It is pretty bad though, isn't it? You know, against Hellfire. So what you're saying is it's okay?
It's, yeah.
Okay.
If you offered me that hand, I would take it. How about that?
Take it instead of Keleseth.
No,
Drawing
not
Saronite,
instead of the
Saronite.
absolute nuts. No one said that.
Okay, just checking. Just gonna get make sure things are factual on this cast. We do try sometimes, I promise.
I hate you. Meanwhile, while we were doing whatever on earth that
In the
was,
light.
Bloodyface has had
Fun things.
pretty crucial decision to make. It was just 3 1-drops, and it seems relatively innocuous, but Bloodyface is kind of sitting there like, does each of these 1-drops make my opponent Hellfire if they have it, first and foremost? If they then do Hellfire, which one of them would I like to have die? And he ends up with the Light Warden there. I think just making sure that Sintolol has to Hellfire if it's in hand, and isn't able to just make any other play that he wants to.
Bloody has to be a little bit worried that these chain gangs aren't buffed. It could be susceptible to the second Hellfire. But there is the Doom Guard ready to go and locked in.
And
for a lot of extra damage from it.
Our following casters have just taken their position, and without even looking, I guarantee you Admirable wants to coin this Doom Guard right
thumbs
now.
up
Yes!
as I look.
Oh, nailed it.
That is the one card that Admirable wants to play, no matter what the mana, no matter the game, no matter the matchup, no matter the time. You always get that Doom Guard out. I think as he prefaces it with, you know what? I feel like this turn I want a Doom Guard. It's like, yes! Every turn. This Spellstone in hand for Sinto does mean that these Hellfires, although painful initially, do kind of earn their healing back up again that they do to Sinto. So second Hellfire and then the Spellstone hitting for 7, if there's like one singular big target, could make quite an impact.
Yeah. There is Hellfire number 2, though. I think Bloodyface's thinking there was just, with the front-loaded damage plus the Doom Guard, which has charge on the following turn anyway, he can potentially push lethal over the course of 2 turns. The old mantra of playing your slow cards first, and then your fast cards can follow that up, but it just so happened that the second Hellfire can end up being extremely punishing for Sintolol.
Hard counter on the Spellstone means it has to go to the 2-3 right now on the right.
The one that it would kill anyway. Yeah. Sintolol, I mean, I said this right from the start, right? Like, Bloodyface needs to have enough stats in play every turn that Sintolol can't just play even long, right? He can't just play big threats when he wants to. He has to react. Sintolol has had to do that, and he has had the removals up until this point, but now is about the time where it's really desperate for him that he's able to play a removal spell and put a threat into play, and he just can't do that. The deck can't really do that on 6 mana. It's not something that it's available to it.
Yeah, and again, probably the more reasonable point is he can't get away with Shroom Brewer this turn. Which, if that was a regular 2-3, then maybe you think, okay, I'll put a 4-4 on the board and negate most of next turn's damage, and then we'll play the game. And he can't do that now, because it just buffs the Light Warden and potentially just opens up lethal next turn, even through the healing. And this just has to be the turn right now. Gonna save the bigger Spellstone just in case something comes down, but also as well, Doomguard is actually out of range of the 7 Spellstone because of that Kelisa.
Buff Doomguard will be coming down as a 6/8. And now it has to be time.
Now Bloodyface feels like Admirable feels all of the time.
Like it's Doomguard time. And that Kelisa buff just looking so very crucial. Sintolol, that was the one turn, the previous turn, where his whole hand was a mess. From this turn onwards, like now you could see Mountain Giant into Spellstone on this turn. Right. So now the game plan starts all coming together, but Mountain Giant into Spellstone just doesn't get the job done anymore. The most damage he takes off the board is 3, and puts him back up to 10, and that would be 10 remaining in play just from the Doomguard and the 2 Chain Gangs.
Ouch. I think that's all I've got for you, Sol.
Ouch just about sums it up.
I think the worst part here, or maybe the best part knowing Sinto, is there isn't a lot he could have actually done earlier because of cards like Light Warden that were stopping him playing the riskier plays with the Shroom Brewer. But Sinto concedes, and that's going to be Bloodyface winning his group. And they're getting a few days off for it.
Right about now.